Hey, bird watchers. Today we're going to be talking about how localization is shifting from project-based workflows to continuous AI-driven pipelines. So we're going to explore what that means to build an AI-native localization architecture where machine translation, quality estimation, and LLM post-editing work together in real time. Joined by Amir Kamran from TAUS. We're going to break down how MTQE and APE enable smarter automation, how LLMs are transforming post-editing, and why orchestration is the missing layer connecting it all. Amir, thanks for joining me. We did a webinar. It feels like recently, but it must have been like 5 months ago or something like that. Right? It was pre-holidays.
Yeah, that's true. Hello, everyone. So thanks for inviting me, first of all. Yeah, we did webinar some time ago, but yeah, people are now referring back to that conversation again and again. So it's good to be back and discussing some new things together with you as well. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, awesome. No, it's funny too. I think since the webinar, I know our teams have collaborated a lot. We've kind of pushed out some new features in our House app that sits inside of Blackbird as well. So some really exciting stuff that people can get their hands on. But before that, you mentioned that the weather's nice. You're in Amsterdam. You said the weather's nice. It's gonna be really hot here today. But I'm in a basement, so I still got to wear my hoodie downstairs in the basement. But when I go upstairs, it's really hot outside. So yeah.
Yeah, it's the Dutch weather is very funny. So you cannot prepare in the morning what to wear or what to bring with you. Just yesterday, when we were leaving the office, it was sunny, but the moment we left the office, it started hailing. So, so you never know what will happen here. So keep the umbrella with you all the time and a hoodie with you all the times.
How long have you been living in the Netherlands?
In Netherlands, I'm here for the last 14 years now. I'm working with TAUS for almost 8 years. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
Yeah, you like it? You like? I have a Dutch colleague, so you work with a lot of Dutch colleagues. So I guess the answer is yes, yes, it's great there.
It's a nice place for expats. Although if you want to integrate in the society, you have to make some effort. But the good thing is that most of the people speak English, so I don't have to switch my language. Although it's now due, I should learn that. So yeah. But overall, I think it's an amazing place to live, especially as an expat. Yeah.
You've gotten used to the mayonnaise on the French fries? Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Netherlands quite a few times. It's beautiful. It's a great country, and I always enjoy visiting there. I'm over here right outside of New York, and it's the weather is this just the crazy springtime weather where it's like it's you don't know if you're gonna get a snowstorm or if it's shorts weather. So hoodie, shorts, I'm good to go both ways. Anyway.
That's
So
right.
in our webinar we showed like a lot of ways of using Blackbird to operationalize TAUS. You went over some of the the major benefits of what TAUS brings to the table. So we'll definitely touch upon that. But really like we're here to talk about like the the current state of localization and where loc teams could be looking to build if they're starting today. Like, and some of them are, by the way. I do talk to people that are kind of starting their localization processes today. Um, Without that historic tech debt or baggage or whatever, like if you were able to start today, what it would look like, and it's it's seeing more continuous. It's definitely AI forward. It's exactly in the realm that you and Taos sit in. So I'll ask you if you were doing it today, if you're starting from scratch, like what would AI first look like to you?
Yeah, I think the most important part is that MT is now becoming like the main factor in the translation workflow. So you have to use machine translation to speed up things to save cost. But we know that MT is still not reliable. So it can make mistakes. It's AI models. Even if you are using LLM for doing machine translation, still you cannot trust it 100%. So uh, can we use just humans? Of course, that's not a possibility anymore. The kind of translation is needed, or the amount of translation that is needed, the kind of workflows, scenarios that's now in place. Just to give you an example, we were just talking with one of the clients where their use case is that they are doing voice-to-voice calls, but it's possible that the user who's calling is speaking a different language, and the expert that is providing the answers is speaking a different language. So in the middle, there is the whole translation workflow exist. But in this scenario, human cannot do the translation because you need to do everything in real time. So in this kind of scenario, what kind of technology that you have to use? Can you just rely on machine translation? Will that distort the message? Uh, do you have to add some other signals there? Can you use AI? So I think the most important thing now is to understand the AI as a utility, and where you can use these small things or different kind of signals that are coming from different models, how you can effectively use that. So if I'm starting now with a translation workflow, I will see where can I get my translation, how I can judge that, how I can do the quality estimation, and then how I can route it so that I can get the maximum value out of my workflow, and I can reduce the cost. That's one of the biggest factors these days, that how you can reduce the cost.
On a previous episode, I had a guest on. We were talking about the paradigm shift of projects. It was very project based, and now we are talking about pipelines, and it is continuous because content is continuous. Content is flowing. Content is being created more than ever. And to your point, is speed is really important. Cost, more content means higher cost. How do you corral all that? So it is fascinating to see, you know, about maybe 10 years ago, machine translation was a fraction of the work that was being done in localization. And now the numbers have flip-flopped. I think most companies are saying it's like, yeah, we can't think of our localization program without machine translation at the center of it. But how do we balance that out without impacting quality? So I think that's one of the uh, challenges. And so for those unfamiliar, how does MTQE actually work? And then explain it to me like I'm five.
Mhm. So I think for that we have to go in the background a little bit, that how the process before MTQE or before even the current AI revolution, I would say, uh, took place. So in the past, most of the time, depending on the severity or depending on the type of the content that you are translating, you will choose different workflows. So one of the most easy workflows is to just add a human and translate everything by human, and that will be the highest quality. But of course, as you mentioned, that the speed and the cost, that does not allow that everything can be done by like this. So uh, people have replaced this by translation memories. They are still in place. A lot of companies are still using a lot of translation memories for different content. But then if something is not in the translation memory, what you will do? You will, of course, do machine translation. But the problem with machine translation is that it's going well, models are improving. When it works really well. But when it fails, then you can expect very catastrophic results. So then you need to always add a human, so that human will verify everything that is coming out of a machine translation. So you are not really solving the problem of dependency on humans. You are just shifting it towards post editing. So that was the workflow that is predominant now in translation industry, that you use MT. MT will provide you initial translation, then a human will check it. If it's good, okay. If it's not, then the human will edit it. So this is how it works. But what we can now analyze, that because the MT is improving day by day, um, at least 50% of the time, the human is just saying this is good. So basically, you are just wasting the effort of the human, you are wasting your cost as well. And you can take a simple decision based on any AI model or different kind of tools, that okay, this sentence does not need any attention. This is already very good. So you can add different quality signals, and then you can take a decision on that. and decide what to do in the workflow next. So you can route the content to a human, you can route the content directly to publication or whatever your next workflow stage is, or you can look for other options to rewrite, like automatic post editing. So the workflow that is now developing and being adapted by different companies is that MT is still there. When the output comes out of MT, you add another model which will judge whether the quality of the MT is good or bad. And that's our quality estimation model. Then based on that, you will take a decision based on the signal that is provided by the model. It's good or bad. Then if it's good, of course, you can directly publish that without any human intervention. If it's bad, then you have two options. Either send it directly to a human or use LLMs. So ask LLM to rewrite it. Okay, now you know that there is an error. You can maybe provide more context, more some extra information that this is our domain, why we were translating this. And LLM can provide you an updated version of the translation. After that, you can, depending on the workflow, you can do another pass of quality estimation, and then you can send it to the production if it's higher quality now, or again, for some of the segments or some of the content that after all this process is still not up to that mark, a human can intervene and then decide whether to edit it or discard it or do some translation, from the scratch. But this is how you can save a lot of time. This is how you can save a lot of cost. And then human can really intervene where they are really needed rather than just clicking a button saying, this is true, this is correct.
Yeah, it's funny too, is you walking through that process and just again knowing the automated way that this is all happening, but if you broke it down to traditional old school localization processes, imagine this. A human translates something. They send it to an editor. An editor finds issues with it. They send some of it back to the translator. The translator retranslates it. They send it back to an editor. The editor's like, it's still not good. I'm going to send it to another translator. That translator brings it back, and then it sends to the editor. It goes to a proofreader. The proofreader finds stuff. So if you like imagine the time and costs and then say this is all not all automated, but mostly automated here. Um, it is substantial. It's substantial
Yeah.
in terms of turnaround times and definitely about value add, right? I mean, it's not about removing the linguists from the process. It's putting them in situations where they're going to add the most value to the process and being able to from a risk mitigation standpoint, being the SME on the content and being the one that is ensuring that the models and everything are working to the capacity they need to be. That's adding value to the overall process. That said, listen, I mean, and this is a question I'll pose to you, but I've noticed it as well. It's like MTQE quality, like the results of MTQE a lot better than I remember when they first started off with. What's your take on this? Like, what kind of advancements or how far along since you've been South? You said 8 years. Like, since then to now, like, kind of what's the advancements that you've seen?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change, of course, comes with all this technology that is now driving LLMs, or the transformation that is came out of this, and the transformer models that is now core of all the AI models. That has changed everything. Now, the only thing that needs to be like the decision that people have to take is whether to use LLM to do something, or whether to use a smaller model, or whether to fine tune a model to do a specific task. And these are all very specialized AI questions, and not everyone can answer this, because if you are, for example, working in a translation company, your main goal is translation. You don't hire AI experts to do a lot of stuff. And in that capacity, I think companies like TAUS, they can help because we are specializing in just one aspect of the workflow. And for example, Blackbird is specializing in some other aspects of the workflow. So you have to go to the experts to get the best out of the technology. So what TAUS is now doing is specializing only in the QE and APE part. We build them into one product, which is Epic, TAUS Epic. So what happened is that all the things that I've explained initially, the whole workflow, we take that out of the hand of the user. They just have to do the empty. Once the empty is there, they can send this to our API, and then the API can do all this and take all the decisions and provide you a final updated version of translation, or say that okay, the original translation that you provided is already good, and then people can use that. um, and of course, tools like Blackbird, they are you know very valuable to add all these utilities in the workflow straight away. You don't have to write a code. You don't have to ask someone to integrate things. Everything is done by Blackbird already. You can just start creating your workflows and change the workflow the way you like, or create new steps based on these business decisions that are coming from different models. So QE and APE just providing a signal, and that signal you can take it and then do so many different use cases with it. So one of the use cases that we discuss all the time is saving post-editing cost. But there are so many other possibilities. Like I just mentioned in the beginning, that in a voice-to-voice call scenario, sometimes it's very expensive to have a bilingual agent. So let's say you have few bilingual agents available, but others are only monolingual agents. So you can take a decision based on the quality signal, that which agent I have to queue this call to. So if the translation quality is already very good and you can rely on that, then you will go to the monolingual agent that can answer and provide a response, and then you can go back to the client who's calling, and the call will be done. But if it seems like that the MT is not doing a good job and a human really has to understand both languages, then you can choose a bilingual agent. So there are so many interesting use cases where you can use these signals in your workflow and then orchestrate through, for example, Blackbird, and everything will be in place in no time.
Yeah, it really is, I think, um, about operationalizing the use of MT and doing it in a way that, um, if you think about what are your drivers, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be faster? Of course. Are you trying to reduce costs? Of course. When the quality side comes into it, then it's like, what is your risk threshold? Is there content type that has a higher risk threshold versus the lower risk threshold? Um, can you route content to different workflows based off of that criteria? And I think those are the conversations that I'm seeing coming up with the use of MTQE. So I guess in general, it's a general question, and then I guess a side question to that, a little side quest to this question is, where do you see thresholds today? When you're talking to companies about like MTQE thresholds, are you looking at it at language level, content level, or just overall, basic of what their goals are? Like how do you talk about thresholds with your customers?
Yeah, I think the most important part is that so different companies have different kind of contents, and they have different expected quality threshold as well. So for some of the content, just okay is good enough. For some other content, you have to be very accurate. And then also it depends on the style of the translation as well. So for some companies, a stylistic difference can make a huge difference. So for them, a small mistake is a big error. So you have to really take into account all these different nuances and all these different signals, and then build a model on top of that. So what we are doing at TAUS is that we have a generic model, which works for, as the name suggests, generic. So general content, if you are just trying to look at the workflow and see how integration works, and you just need a basic um, quality signal that a translation is good or bad, you can use these models, which are out of the box. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to provide any data to us. And then based on that, you can do some experimentation and see for your content what is a good threshold. So the way we provide the signal is in the form of 0 to 1 score. So if it's close to 1, of course, it's high quality. If it's going down, then it's low quality. And depending on different languages or different domains, you have to work it out to find out what is the right threshold for your content. So the real thing that people have to understand is risk versus savings. So you can choose a threshold where you can, let's say, save 50% of the cost of post editing. But then how much risk you are taking? How many errors are passing through when you set this threshold? So that is something you have to test it out and then decide, okay, for me, zero point 0.9 is the right threshold. On zero point 0.9, I can save, let's say, 30%, not 50%, but then I don't see any catastrophic errors. I don't see any critical errors. I don't see any major errors. But if you want to save, let's say, 40% of the cost, then maybe you have to allow one or two major errors passing through. So it's basically um, a, an effort that you have to make to use the model, test it for maybe some time, do a pilot project, and see how it's working. Test it on some of the content where you have maybe human judgment already available. So a lot of companies, they can actually go back to their old data. They can already see that there are pre and post edit data available. You can already make a judgment out of that. You don't have to really always add human linguist on top to take this decision. So we always recommend that if you already have some kind of data where pre and post edit available, then we can help companies to create the data set that can be used as the benchmarking data set. And then on that, you can already see how good the quality signal is. But in case if our generic models are not working well, then we always recommend then to do the customization. And for customization, we don't need a lot of data. We just need some representative data of the domain or of the style, or if they have any branding, that kind of vocabulary is needed because, of course, model cannot understand that. And then we can customize that on their quality signals. And then we give them some time to actually again test and do some collaboration and see how this threshold can go up and down based on the risk and saving percentages. And then once the clients are happy, then we can put it on production. So this is how usually at TAUS we solve this problem of thresholds.
Yeah, and it makes total sense. I mean, you think about the classic project management triangle, right? Cost, quality, and time, right? And those things still apply here, but I think the one um, caveats or the one critical element here is content type or content purpose or end purpose of it. And you can kind of
Yeah.
put that in there in the kind of the center of the triangle to kind of like determine, to your point, it's like, is it okay if the quality is less to save on costs here? And it got me thinking of you could in a workflow you could have like an LLM doing a source analysis and kind of even determine that potential risk threshold for you and then pass that threshold on to TAUS to kind of like route it to the different workflows. So you can definitely use that as another way to kind of route your content based off of the potential risk there. I think that's really fascinating. And then um,
And you mentioned earlier as well that you can have not one but multiple workflows. So depending on the type of the content, for example, if it's in the medical field, very sensitive content, and you are having one translator and maybe two reviewers, and after that you finish the workflow. With QE, you can just remove maybe one of the reviewer. So you're saving cost from there, but then you're not compromising on quality. So there is still the workflow, but you are replacing one of the reviewers with a QE signal, and then based on that, you can reduce the cost. You don't have to compromise the whole workflow and say everything is just now AI based. But there are some other content like different kind of documentation where you know that this is not read by many people, and even if there is an error, it will not going to be a catastrophe for the company. Then you can just go with full AI workflow, full MT workflow. You don't have to then review it with humans. Then the quality signal will be not to determine where to do post editing, but to just identify where very bad segments are, and then just it's just a kind of risk barrier. So you don't want to take a risk on very bad quality MT, and then you just have to filter that out, and somebody will then just analyze that, and then you can update that later. So there are so many different workflows where You can decide on the basis of the content, on the basis of the end result, as you mentioned. Yeah, so this can really work out well with all the use of AI, all the use of different signals in different places of the workflow. And yeah, Blackbird is really a nice tool for this kind of thing. Yeah.
You touched on something too, and it, it dawned on me. It's like a lot of companies might already have the data. They might already have the information to decide on what they need to be doing. They just kind of need the help or the guidance to say, so in the conversation of agentic workflows, when do you trust an AI agent to just autonomously run without any oversight or whatever? There's a level of trust that you need there. But ultimately, when you think about humans in the loop or humans in control or humans making decisions, if that decision is 99.99999% of the time one way, you kind of made the decision for you that probably could be automated versus needing a human in that process. And I think it's similar to what you mentioned about if you've got pre and post edited content already and you're seeing that the machine translation quality on the surface is so good that the post editor is not making that many changes. The edit distance, the everything afterwards is so limited. It's kind of like your guiding light to say this is probably content that can go through a more automated process than not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good valid point. And I think if you compare it with like the human process itself, so let's say you hire a junior resource, then you cannot just trust that human judgment all the time. You have to train that person, you have to handhold that person, you have to review the work. I think AI is very similar to that. So any tool that you are using, you have to understand that it is not replacing you, it is helping you. So it is a collaborator. So you have to see the AI as your collaborator, and then it can work really much better. So where you need to provide human assistance, you always have to do that, and you have to monitor it for some period of time and see, do you have to improve it a little bit more? Do you have to provide more data? Do you need to provide more training? So it's not a instant process. So you have to give it some time, and then it will start producing the results that you are looking for. So a lot of the companies make this mistake that they will just go rush in and see, oh, this is not working. Maybe for 10 segments they will analyze and they will say, oh, this is not working. But no, you have to really plan your evaluation criteria. You have to plan your benchmarking test sets. Only then you can come to a conclusion that, okay, this is not working. Maybe this is not working in the current shape. You have to modify it. You have to fine tune it. So what we are usually doing, we are also educating the clients to uh, take the right route. Okay, this is the right route for you. We have to add this kind of data here, and we have to add this kind of signal here, and then it can work much better.
Yeah, it makes total sense too. Is I do think that even when we're building workflows for customers, we could have something that is very similar in structure, but then each customer is going to have their own nuances. They're going to have their own requirements and their own configurations and so forth. So you do need to be mindful of that. Um, but ultimately, yeah, the end goal, I think, what we're looking at is how do we provide just more localized content? I think that's the world we're living in right now. It's not a desire for less communication. It's a desire for more content to be able to communicate globally. Um, and I think, some of the challenges and there are, of course there's the human component of it. Translators definitely feel like, I'm being replaced or I'm it's like, yeah, possibly a component of your work is being replaced, but ultimately, if more content is being localized, it's a shifting of responsibilities, and I do think that that's the challenging part that I've always seen in machine translation is having those conversations with linguists. It's like, yeah, I think there's going to be more work for you out there. I think that that's the whole thing. If there's more machine translated content, even with the automatic post editing and the MTQE, there's going to still be more content that is being localized, meaning that there's more opportunities for you to be involved in the linguistic processes. Just it's just going to change what your definition of translation is being. Um, so with that said, now I'm going to ask you kind of a controversial final question on this is, do you think we're moving towards where human review is going to be the exception rather than the rule. Is that the path that localization is kind of moving towards?
Not particularly. So what you said is actually more true that some of the things we are automating, but then that automation is increasing the volume. So when the volume will increase, that means even if humans are now reviewing 20% of the content, that 20% will become the same kind of volume because the overall volume will increase. So maybe in the future, because the translation work will become more and more and the volumes will increase, maybe we need more people to check that 20% that is of the bigger volume. So I see in the future more domain specific translators might be needed rather than just general purpose. So people will be working on different domains, and those domains might not be understood well by LLM or even our QE models. Then you have to work more on that part. And the humans will be providing signals to the AI to train better AI. So humans will be doing a lot of annotations. And it's not a very different kind of work than translation. You have to understand the language to provide that kind of information. So maybe it's kind of the same shift that came when MT was introduced. So translator become post editor, and now post editor becomes domain expert, and then providing annotation kind of services and other similar kind of things.
I think if you're open for it, I'll share my screen. We'll walk through TAUS inside of Blackbird. I'll throw you a little bit of curveball. You weren't prepared for this, but I'm gonna ask you another set of questions, but more. It should be fine. It's more technical, so it should be up your alley. So let's do this.
Bring
Okay.
it on, bring it on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So within our Blackbird environment, we have our Taos Epic app that sits in here, and you can see here's how to connect up to it and what you need to do. And you, of course, talk to Taos to maybe you'll make sure you can connect up to the app beforehand. Um, but we've got some actions in here, and a lot of these are newer actions. And this is where I'm going to put you on the spot. What's Taos from a product side? Give a little bit of product update of how we were able to kind of enhance our Taos app for work that you guys have been doing recently.
Yeah, so since we integrated in Blackbird, there was some request, especially for batch processing. So we added that into now our suite that previously the API was just segment by segment. So you can just call the API per segment and then we will send you the score. Now you can send us a batch, which means you can upload a file and then wait for the file to process. And when the process is finished, then you can get the updated content. So this is one of the changes that we recently did. The other thing that we were doing is to improve the automatic post editing part. So in the automatic post editing part, previously it was just a prompt that we have customized ourselves. We tested different prompting schemes. We tested different kind of prompts, and we tested different kinds of LLM. And the kind of combination that was best in our testing, that was the generic automatic post editing that we are providing. But now what we have added is RAG-based APE. So you can upload your content, your, for example, translation memories or your glossaries, and then we will do behind the scene all the vectorization of that. And when you send then a specific context for for QE or for APE, then we can use that context automatically and pass it to LLM to rewrite the segment. So this is something that we have added recently, RAG-based APE. For client, it's very easy. You just have to upload a file, and then rest of the things, cleaning of the translation memories and putting it into a vector form, and how to retrieve that when something is being scored, that will be taken care by TAUS automatically. So in Blackbird, again, you don't have to do much. For the RAG-based support, you can add your resources, and that will become part of the workflow automatically. So that's update from TAUS side.
Yeah, awesome. No, it's great. Yeah, we've we've put a lot of collaboration into this, and it's great to have the new features in here. And yeah, I'm excited to show some people. You can see here, like again, like Blackbird's all about the configurations here and being able to set your thresholds. We talked a lot about thresholds here and setting APE.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, we have within our TAUS app as well, it's not just the editing, but also the review. That's the traditional MTQE. Cool thing is, yeah, like we're enriching the XLIFs, so you have the information that we're getting from TAUS. It's ending up in your XLIFs. So as you're passing it on to the other systems, you're getting that context from TAUS. You can make decisions at a segment level, but you can also make decisions at a document level, right? So we have our decision tree right here, and based off of maybe the total segments still under a threshold. So after a certain amount, it's still maybe we want to be really strict. Is if there's still anything over one even, right? And then we can route to different workflows. So this is kind of like getting the benefits of enriching on a segment by segment level, but also looking at the totality of it, the risk of it, and then routing to different workflows here. So I have just kind of a workflow over here that you can see. Um, when content is being created in Salesforce Knowledge, right? We're getting the articles here. We're translating the content just using machine translation. So for here, we're using DeepL, but we've got a slew of other translation, machine translation tools that we could put in here as well. So, other than just DeepL, if we can use an LLM to do translation, we can also use other MT services. We have support, Lara. We've got Google. We've got all the ones in here, but you can kind of determine your process here. You could even inject a TMS process in here if you wanted to, where you can pre-translate and get your content and then export an XLIF out. But ultimately, the desired is let's send it to TAUS, either for review, automatic post editing, whatever it is, and from there making a decision of what to do with the content here, right? Um, so we've got the review here, and let's get this edit out of here because look, we can also edit the content in TAUS if we wanted to instead. So then we can set our threshold here, and you can see uh, our little icons of our little icons for thresholds with say it's enterprise grade caution here and so forth. So uh, it really is thinking about your workflows, what you're trying to do, and being able to enrich on a segment by segment basis. So we have a recent joint customer of ours that we worked on together, and they wanted to be empowered with this information sitting inside of their TMS, and so that was important to them. Is they do want humans to be more efficient and productive with the content. So being able to get that, make decisions off of it, have linguists be more efficient with the content they are human reviewing. You can get that, and everything is easily configurable. And as you mentioned, if we wanted to, if you had RAG set up on the TAUS side, you can do that. So, yeah, that's kind of Blackbird and TAUS right there. And again, we did a lot of this during the webinar. You'll
Yeah.
see it in our YouTube channel. I'm sure you guys have it on your YouTube channel as well. You can find it, and you can see some more of these demos that we did together. Amir put me on the spot. He kept asking me different use cases. And it's just like, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see this.
That was actually a great webinar. So, based on that, a lot of people actually noticed that how easy it is to set things up in Blackbird and then call different technologies, especially TAUS Epic, how easy it is. Because, of course, if you don't have that, then you have to write all the code yourself. And that's not an easy task. Although the API is very simple, you have to just call one endpoint and send your content. But how to get the content, how to export it back to the somewhere else, and how to take these decisions, or if you are doing whole file processing, how to do these kind of segment-based routing. And for all of this, if you don't have to write any code, what else you can ask for? Yeah.
Yeah, listen, for someone that worked on language services and tried to like come up with these types of solutions, operationalizing these things is where your challenge comes into play. You can easily kind of build something small to kind of like do a couple projects with, but when you're talking about, I don't know, a few thousand projects or something like that, wanting something that is more, dependable. And then the fact is that we have such good collaboration because, yeah, you release the endpoints to us and we're able to like update the app like super quickly so people can kind of get the most out of it is really great. So, Amir, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it. Any final words? Anything that you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, it was a pleasure with you doing this podcast. And if anyone needs more information about QE or the TAUS products, the TAUS Epic, yeah, they can just drop an email to us or schedule a call or any other thing if they want to discuss about translation industry. I'm happy to do that. So yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Amir's contact information will be in the description of this video. And until next time, bird watchers, keep your eyes to the skies for more awesome stuff coming soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.